Okay, well, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome to, this is actually my podcast setup. And we're joining you today to talk about our trip to Uganda,
Yes.
which many of you came to our Cream Tea fundraising event, our concert, which was amazing. And we're super appreciative of the support and the generosity that was shown those two performances.
Yes.
which was great.
Thank you very much.
So this is just us telling you about the trip in a accessible way. So this is on the YouTube channel, and so you at home, well, currently watching this, which is great.
Very exciting.
So thank you for clicking on. So behind the camera is Reverend Benedict Cambridge, and he has a series of questions for us, and then we're going to have a conversation.
Grueling question.
Grueling questions.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to grill you.
And then we're going to have a nice conversation and tell you kind of about our trip. Should be some photos on the screen throughout this short video.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Good. All right. So, just in case people have tuned in that weren't aware of your trip and didn't come to the
yes.
to the fundraising or anything like that, do you want to tell us a little bit of the background and where you went and who you went with and why you went?
Sure.
Would you like to?
Yeah.
Good.
So on the 8th of July, we went to Uganda and we flew from London Heathrow to Qatar and then to Entebbe. And then the next day we drove from Entebbe to Gulu, and the whole trip was 10 days long, and we went with a charity called EduKid, who are based in the southwest and have done lots of work out in a few different countries, but one of them including Uganda. And we went out for those 10 days and we worked in a school called Willachich.
Yep.
And we worked in the school for 4 days and did home visits. What else did we do? We went on a safari.
We did. Water runs to their
We did. We learned
boreholes.
about all the water sources they use there. And
Taught lots of games, took loads of activities.
we did. We brought lots of activities, and we also went to the market. And
Yes, we did.
after the home visit, we went and bought some essentials for some of the families, and it was an amazing, amazing experience.
Yes. Let's talk about some of the activities
Okay.
that we brought across with us. So for me personally, I'm really into chess, as those who came to the fundraising know. So I took a bunch of chessboards with me, and I just wanted to try and teach as many people this. How do you describe it? It's not a sport or an art or this.
Game?
No, it's more than a game. It's more than a game, Kaitlin. But no, essentially, it's a game. Essentially, so I wanted to try and teach as many people this thing, and so on the first couple of days, I kind of taught the teachers, big groups with the teachers kind of learning, and then they transferred those skills to some of the kids, which was amazing. Funny little story. So I actually got taxed when I landed in Uganda at the airport, but not by the airport, by some company that had just set up shop at the back of the airport, and people who came with the bags would like get stopped and they'd look inside your bag and go, oh, you've got too many items. And then they'd tax you if you brought too many items in.
The story kept changing, didn't it?
Yeah.
And there was a big
yes.
machine, and so we thought, we should put our bags in the machine.
Yeah. So anyway, they ended up trying to charge me a 70% tax on the chessboards that I brought in. And we bartered this tax down to 30%, which EduKid very kindly paid for me. And I'm just like, sorry, I've just landed in. These are going for a charitable cause. Yeah. But it was very good of the cause that they went to.
Yeah, well, we also bought over some football kits, as my dad is on the committee for the local Brixington Blues team, and so we bought over, sent out a message, and lots of families had old kit or kit they didn't use anymore or spare kit that they kindly donated to us, and we also brought over. And the school had a very good football team, which we played against.
And lost.
Well, we played the first half and it got rained off in a pretty magnificent thunderstorm the first time.
Yeah.
And then we had another go and played again and still lost.
Yeah.
But it was very good fun. And they were very, very good at football. Football was a very big thing over there, wasn't it?
Massive thing. Yeah.
And the Premier League and all of we had drivers who would take us in a little convoy of vans across and did all the driving with us, and they were very, very lovely. And as a present to say thank you for what they'd done, we bought them football shirts, didn't we?
Yeah, and our driver was very lucky indeed, because they also got a very expensive packet of nuts, which was actually worth double the football shirt. So we'd gone to a supermarket to buy some food, some snacks for one of the long drives, and Kaitlin misread this packet of nuts that had been imported and didn't realise there was an extra zero on the total cost of them. But we didn't actually like the nuts in the end, which were very expensive, and so he gave them to our driver, who loved them. Yeah,
the currency there was 4,500-ish shillings was equivalent to £1.
Yeah.
And so everything, when we spent money in the supermarket or in service stations, you would be spending it in thousands, 100,000s, depending on what you were doing, which could get very confusing.
Yes, well, it was actually quite late in the week as well, so one would have thought...
I was very hot and tired.
Yes, no, we all were. But it was an incredible trip. The heat definitely hit me, and I definitely was one of the ones who'd felt it the most. I had to stay back at the hotel for one of the days.
Just did struggle.
Which was pretty tough.
So, good. Well, tell me then about... the place that you went to. You flew into Entebbe, and then what happened? You got on a coach, and where did you go?
Okay, yeah, so we landed in Entebbe, and we got picked up by a series of cars. Now, the first cars we got picked up in were very small and cramped, and our bags were all like pushed in together, so we were all in very tightly. But actually that was only one short journey to our first accommodation, which it was very nice. People were complaining that they had to have a cold shower, but I loved
it was nice.
The cold shower I had. I was
but we met some wildlife pretty early on. I went into my room with my roommate and was unpacking my things, and she went, "Kaitlin, there's a lizard in your bed." I said, "Sorry," but under my mosquito net, there was a bar across the top, and there was a lizard inside my mosquito net. And then we went down for dinner, and then we came back upstairs, and the lizard had gone, this bright orange lizard. And so that night I was a bit nervous that I could feel like lizards, but we did it, but never found it again, so I was okay.
So we had several accommodations, so we only had one night there at the beginning, and then we went to the main place,
Santa Maria,
for the bulk of the trip. After that we went we were in like tents and / buildings at a safari place, and then we went back to the original accommodation. The transport for the trip was actually really nice, because we made like a really good connection with our drivers. So at the very first hotel after we'd been taken, the next morning we then got picked up by these bigger vans which could fit like 8-9 people. Now we were a group of six, and we had
5. Yes, 6 including Nikki.
Yes, and so we had Dr. Nikki. We had the group's doctor as our
very
group
lucky
leader, and we were the only 18-year-olds on the trip, and so she was very good. She gave us a lot of freedom and stuff, and we stayed with our driver in our individual vans the whole time, which I really liked. And actually, I think it's a massive. I think creating that personal connection creates a massive difference, and it feels like you kind of got this safe kind of place to go back to every single day when you get into like your van with your group and your leader and your driver. And it's very nice kind of having kind of that kind of individual kind of ness in this big group of people, who most of which we didn't know, and they were all a little bit younger. So it was weird being the oldest on the trip.
It was lovely. These vans, you could push the roof up. So when we entered the school for the first time, we all stood on our seats and stuck our heads out the top, and we got to see all the kids like running down past us, come and meet us, and you could hear. It was a big ceremony to signify that we'd arrived, which was amazing, and lots of dancing and singing, which was so beautiful. And we got to see it all as we arrived, and it was a big parade, and it was really lovely. And then they were so great, when we went on the safari, and it was like 6 a.m. and we were stood with our heads out the back of the van, and you could see so much, and we were very, very lucky. But yeah, it was great.
A big thing about I think maybe the culture at the school is they love speeches, and they love kind of giving these long talks of welcome and of goodbye. And so when we arrived, and the day we were leaving, they kind of set up this kind of gazebo tent for us, and so we would all sit underneath that. And then you've kind of got the whole school on the side, and some of the different kind of partner programs.
There was parents, government officials.
Yeah, the Bonga Girls, who's a partner program that they work with of girls who can't have or couldn't get into education for different reasons. And so there's massive welcoming, and then they all come up as like the leaders of each of the different groups and committees and stuff, and kind of give us this kind of welcome speech, which was really nice.
I did a speech on the last day.
And Kaitlin did. Kaitlin and one of our the group leader, I think the lady kind of organises it, did a goodbye speech. And the funny thing about her speech that she does every year is she asks our group for a word that she needs to implement in her speech, and it can be any word that she then has to put in, and then the poor translator.
Are you going to attempt it now?
No, but it's basically the one that was chosen was the longest Welsh town name.
Goch is the end.
Goch is what we know. And she actually learned it and did a really good job.
Very good. I didn't have to put any silly words in my speech. I just thanked everyone for all the parents, and because the parents cooked us lunch every day, and we got to try lots of amazing food, and thanked all, because people came from everywhere to come and see us, government officials, teachers, family, and it was really special to get to do all of that.
Yeah. One other thing that was really nice was a man called Darwington, who leads the Ugandan side of the charity. So we went with EduKid. Mm-hmm. The Ugandan side is called Sifford, and the overall aim for EduKid is to build Sifford into a place where it's sustainable on its own. And so Sifford now had land bought for them, so they have their own
banana plantations
and stuff. Yeah, and so Darwington is amazing. And he would kind of do all the translating and stuff. And on one of the first days where we met them, we kind of got to learn lots of words and stuff from the language. Then maybe we should try and see how many you can remember.
So the language that was spoken at the school and in Gulu was Acholi.
One of 72 languages in Uganda.
Yes, there are 72 languages, and so Josh and I also learned a little bit of Uganda,
yeah, which is from Kampala,
and it's a bit more widely spoken. Mm-hmm. But our leader lived in Tanzania, and so she spoke Swahili.
Yes, so our leader spoke Swahili. We were learning Acholi, and our driver taught us little bits of Luganda, because all the drivers actually I think were all from Kampala, and they stayed with us the whole week, and then the next week with the next group before they went back home to their families.
I can remember some Acholi. Ready?
Let's tell us some Acholi.
Dek meat meant the food is good.
Yes. Afoyo matek.
Very good.
Meant thank you very much. Afoyo meant thank you.
Oh, I had one of the young girls taught me. We also brought parachutes over to use as activities, and so I got all the parachutes out, and we'd play. We first started with the ball on top, and we'd shake it, and then we'd also play, and you'd lift it, you'd go, well, I would guess going up, and then you lift the parachute up, and then everyone runs underneath it, and you sit on it, and then you go up, and then everyone gets up, and you start shaking it again, and up is malo. Malo,
nice. One thing I learned just to try and test out my skills, which I would say to the leaders, it was the equivalent. It's translates into long time no see, and I believe it was Otoro Akare Mapa Eneni.
I think so. I think that's pretty close.
I think I remembered that.
Yeah.
It might. I've probably said it a little bit funny.
If we send this to them, they might watch.
Yes, but that was something we learned. Now, I think one of the biggest highlights for me from the trip would be doing the games, and one game in particular started small, where we were running around just throwing these balls like all over the field. It then turned into this circle that Kaitlin had made, where they're throwing the balls to each other. That circle grew, and I got them playing duck, duck, goose, and I'd say duck, and I'd get them to repeat it back to me, and so we'd play it, and they'd be saying out duck, duck, goose. That circle then grew, and so by this point maybe around 60, 70 people, and I'd go in the middle, and I'd do some sort of gymnastic trick, and I'd go out, and I'd get them to run in, and they'd try it, so forward rolls, cartwheels, handstands, backward rolls, all sorts of things. And people just kept on joining and leaving the rest of the students who'd brought their activities, joining our circle, to the point where we had nearly the whole school.
About 200 kids.
Yeah, 200 plus kids in one massive circle around the field, with me in the centre, or me on the side sometimes shouting out, getting them to kind of like all run in together and then run out again.
We tried...
tried lots of different things.
Hokey cokey, but that was the bit that worked, was all holding hands and running into the middle and then running out again.
And to make sure that they were all paying attention, I'd do this thing where I'd like say sit, and I'd sit down really quickly, and I'd get them all to copy and follow me. And so that kind of meant they were always listening, and I could see who was listening. And so really, I don't know like where this came from. It just started to happen. But I would like sit down and make sure that everyone around me, so all these kind of 200 kids would all sit down. There'd be patches who maybe weren't listening, could stay standing up, and everyone would point and go, oh, until they sat down. And then I stand up and sit down again, just make sure that everyone was paying attention before we tried some different things out. But it was amazing. That was one of the first days, maybe a couple of days in. And then from then onwards, I had no energy and was completely wiped out. And that was probably the most I did that week before I ended up getting quite ill. But it was really fun, and I'm glad that I got to experience that.
Yeah, we did so many things in such a short amount of time. We went and visited banana plantation and did some planting of there, and I really enjoyed sitting in some of the lessons and they showed us some of their activities and games that they played at school, so I got to learn to play some different instruments, and we did like French skipping as like what they played, and we did all sorts, and it was really amazing. We got to do a home visit, and we went back and brought back different bubbles and bouncy balls and reading books for kids. One of my favourite moments was sitting on the floor on the grass and having I brought Mr. Men books with me, and I was reading the Mr. Men books, and I sat on the floor and my hair was in like little bunches, and then it started to get plaited, and all the kids were plaiting my hair, and I had about 50 kids all sat around me listening to the Mr. Men books, and it was really sweet. And then you and Freya came, and they were complaining that Josh's hair was too short to plait.
Yes, they gave it a good try.
They did.
I think as a way of ending this short little, it's not an episode, it's a one-off special, I wanted to talk to you about EduKids overriding the big goal of the company, which is about providing children with education. So where the home visits are important, and making sure that the families can get some essential needs and other bits is very important. What they say is the most important thing for them is to change the cycle in Uganda, and that for them starts with education. So we want, with the church, to sponsor a child called Angel, who we met there. And Angel, like us, is into performance, but is also a very smart girl, very talented. She
wanted to be a nurse when she grew up.
Yes.
And but also loved to sing and dance, and she taught me and some of our friends to some of their traditional dance, which they found very funny because we weren't very good. But she was a really lovely and amazing girl.
So in the description of this video will be another Just Giving link. And so for a child to have 1 year of education, it costs £360. So our aim each year for this girl's kind of life in school is to provide her with an education. And so what we want to do each year is to do an evening like the previous ones that we've had, where we'll come back from our uni courses and we will do evenings showcasing some of the things that we've learnt, with the aim to try and raise £360 each year so that Angel can get an education and go to school. So in the description of this video will be that link, and we would really appreciate any amount of generosity, and we will ourselves as well be donating and trying to get to kind of that goal, so that this girl who we've met and have talked to and have learned about and learned from can have an education and then change the cycle in her whole bloodlines in the future, because they'll come from someone who's educated and they'll get educated, and it will go down that way. And so yeah, that is also Educa's goal. If they can educate one person, that means they can educate a whole kind of bloodline of people.
If anyone was interested in sponsoring a child themselves, then we'll put a link to Educad's website, and you can find out more information about that too.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for your previous support.
Thank you.
Hopefully there's some nice photos being put up during this. And I'm looking forward to talking to some of you at church in some time when I get back from uni. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.